For 30 years, Mary slipped $200 into a coffee can, never expecting anyone to find it. Today, someone did. Mrs. Whitfield was decluttering the pantry. She reached the back shelf where old things sat forgotten. Her fingers closed around a vintage Maxwell House can, a relic. She had never bought this brand. The can felt heavy, not like coffee. Something inside shifted with a soft, papery rustle. She pried off the lid. The tin was packed with rolled bills, tight as cigars. A single cream envelope lay on top. Handwritten address. She turned it over to a granddaughter not yet born. Mrs. Whitfield froze. Mary had no grandchild, no living daughter. The housekeeper had never spoken of one.
What have you done, Mary?
She saw the paper bands around each roll. Decades of Decembers, marked from 1995 to the present, 30 years of hidden money. She counted the rolls, $200 each, one for every December since 1995, $6,000 in total.
$6,000. 30 years. And a letter to a child who doesn't exist.
Downstairs, the front door clicked open. Mary arrived for her shift, as she had for 31 years.
The house feels quieter today. Maybe Mrs. Whitfield is still in her room.
She tied her apron, the faded gray fabric soft from decades of laundering. Her feet carried her past the pantry door. She didn't glance inside. Mrs. Whitfield heard the footsteps below. She slipped the can into her cardigan pocket and left the pantry. In the privacy of her study, she locked the can inside her desk drawer. The envelope she kept out.
I can't confront her. Not yet. This secret is older than my friendship with her.
Mary moved through the house, dusting and straightening, her hands steady. She had no idea someone had stumbled into the one room of her heart she kept locked. That afternoon, Mrs. Whitfield found Mary polishing the brass railing in the upstairs hall. The question she'd been holding all day slipped out.
Mary, you've worked here since before my children were born. Do you have any family?
Mary's hands stilled on the brass. Her knuckles tightened around the cloth.
I had a daughter, Lucy. She's been gone a long time now.
Mrs. Whitfield saw the quick clench of Mary's jaw, the two rapid blinks that chased away tears. She didn't press.
I am sorry. I didn't mean to bring up old sorrow. It's all right, ma'am. Old sorrow is the only kind I have.
That evening, after Mary had gone home, Mrs. Whitfield went to the small staff room near the kitchen. She opened Mary's locker. Beneath a folded sweater, she found a creased photograph, a young black woman with a radiant smile. On the back, in Mary's handwriting, Lucy, 1994.
Lucy. The granddaughter not yet born. The money. The letters. I am beginning to understand.
The next morning, Mary went to the pantry for a fresh bottle of wood polish. She reached for the back shelf out of habit. Her fingers found empty air. The can was gone. A clean rectangle of dustless shelf stared back at her.
Number? No, it has to be here. I put it here every year. It's never moved.
She moved jars and boxes. Her breath came faster. 30 years of silence shattered by an empty shelf.
Who else comes in here? The family never touches the back shelves. What if she found it? What if she knows everything?
In the hallway, drawn by the soft crash of a knocked-over jar, Mrs. Whitfield stood motionless. She saw the terror on Mary's face.
Dear God, she thinks it was stolen. She thinks someone violated her secret. And I did. I did exactly that.
Mary pressed a hand to her chest, forcing her breathing to slow. She couldn't let the mistress see her like this. She straightened her apron, picked up a bottle of polish she hadn't come for, and walked out. She didn't see Mrs. Whitfield in the shadows.
That can is a wound, and I've opened it. I cannot pretend I didn't see. I have to do something.
That evening, Mrs. Whitfield returned to her study. She unlocked the drawer and lifted the can again, the weight of 30 years pressing into her palms. In 1995, Mary's daughter Lucy was 25 years old. She was pregnant with her first child, a girl she had already named Grace. Lucy went into labor at 38 weeks. There were complications. By morning, both mother and daughter were gone. Mary was told she would never bear another child. She buried her daughter and granddaughter in the same week, that December. She took $200 from her own pay and placed it in an old Maxwell House can. A secret ritual of hope against all logic. She imagined a granddaughter she would never hold. She addressed the envelope not to the dead, but to a future that could never arrive. Every year, for 30 years, she added another roll. She never opened it. She never mentioned it, not even to herself aloud. In her study, Mrs. Whitfield set the envelope down and opened her laptop. She typed, "Black maternal mortality rates United States."
Women like Lucy are still dying. Childbirth is still killing them at 3 times the rate. This is not just Mary's sorrow, this is an unseen catastrophe.
She closed the laptop. The can sat open before her. She did not yet have a plan, but she knew she could not simply give it back. On Monday morning, Mrs. Whitfield met with her estate attorney. She didn't waste time with pleasantries.
I need to create a memorial fund for a young woman who died in childbirth. Her name was Lucy.
She explained the tragedy, the 30 years of silent saving, and the envelope addressed to a granddaughter who never came.
Every dollar she saved, I want to match 100-fold. $600,000, and Mary will be the sole director.
The lawyer drafted the documents. By the meeting's end, Lucy's memorial fund had taken its first breath on paper. That same week, in her apartment, Mary opened a drawer and took out a plain coffee can she had bought at the corner store.
It doesn't feel right. The old red can was part of the promise, but I'll make do.
She rolled $200 into the can. It made the same papery rustle, but it didn't sound like 30 years.
Whoever has my can, I hope they needed it. I hope they understand what it meant.
Neither woman knew what the other was doing. One was building a legacy. The other was mourning a secret that had already begun to change the world. A week later, Mrs. Whitfield walked into the bright, modest offices of the Haven Maternal Health Initiative. She carried a check for $600,000.
This fund is for a woman named Mary. She's the reason it exists. I am just the messenger.
The executive director stared at the check. She said it would save hundreds of lives.
Good. But I need to make sure no one interferes. My own family might question the expense.
That evening, her son called. He had heard about the large donation. He didn't understand.
It's not a diversion. It's a debt. I owe a woman I've known for 30 years. That's all I can tell you.
The next morning, Mary didn't arrive for her shift. Mrs. Whitfield waited an hour, then drove to the small apartment she had never visited.
I am sorry, ma'am. I should have called. I needed a day.
She tried to smile, but her skin was too pale, her voice thin. Mrs. Whitfield saw the new coffee can on the kitchen table, and her chest tightened.
I can't wait any longer. She's not well. The anniversary is only months away. I need to push this through.
Spring had reached the estate. On the kitchen calendar, the 15th of April was circled in red, the day Lucy died.
Mary, I need you here tomorrow. I know it's your usual day off, but there's something I must discuss. It won't take long. The 15th of April, the anniversary. I always bring flowers to Lucy's grave. I can't miss it. Ma'am, that's the day I visit my daughter's grave. I've never missed it in 28 years. I know. I wouldn't ask if it weren't crucial. Just an hour in the morning. You can visit the cemetery afterward. She's never pushed before. Maybe I can go later. I can't refuse her. Not after 31 years. All right, ma'am. I'll be here. But I need to leave by noon.
That evening, Mrs. Whitfield carried the vintage can from her study and placed it on the pantry counter. The bound fund document rested beside it.
Tomorrow she'll understand. Her private grief will become a public gift.
She placed the unopened envelope on top of the can. The stage was set. Only Mary's footsteps in the morning remained. The morning of the 15th of April broke pale and still. Mary arrived at the estate wearing a dark blouse and a small black armband.
28 years. I've never been anywhere but the cemetery on this day. Why does this feel different? Good morning, Mary. I am in the pantry. Please, come to me.
Mary walked the long hallway to the pantry. Each step felt heavier than the last. The house was too quiet.
Don't let her see you tremble. It's just a conversation. But my can has never felt more absent.
She pushed open the pantry door and froze.
Number. No. That's my can. That's the envelope. She's read it. She knows.
Mrs. Whitfield was sitting on the pantry floor, her back against the lower shelves. The open can rested in her lap.
Close the door, Mary. I think we need to sit on the floor today.
Mary's hand found the door frame. Her legs refused to move. The granddaughter she had written to for 30 years was staring back at her through the matriarch's eyes. Mary took 2 faltering steps into the pantry and pulled the door shut. The click echoed like a ceiling vault.
I found this, Ken. 6 months ago. I read the envelope, Mary. 6 months. She's carried this for half a year while I dusted her tables and pretended nothing was missing. I can explain. That letter. It's not for anyone real. I just needed to believe that someday. Shh. I know about Lucy. I know you've been saving for a granddaughter who never came.
Mary's knees buckled. She slid down the doorframe and sat on the cold tile, the black armband stark against the white floor.
I never meant for anyone to see. It was just my prayer. Every year I'd add money and pretend she'd come. Lucy's girl. My granddaughter. I am not angry, Mary. I am in awe. 30 years of faith against all evidence. That is not shameful. That is sacred.
The tears that hadn't fallen for 15 years broke free. Mary covered her mouth, sobbing without sound.
I never opened it. That envelope is yours. But before you read it, there's something else.
From behind her back, Mrs. Whitfield drew a leather-bound folder. She opened it and laid a crisp document on the can's lid.
This is Lucy's memorial fund. Every dollar you saved, I matched 100-fold. $600,000. 600,000. That's more than I've earned in a lifetime. She multiplied my sorrow into something I can't fathom. You? You did what? I don't understand. Why would you do this? Because your grief deserved more than a locked can. It deserved to be seen. And because Black mothers still die at 3 times the rate.
She turned the page. The mission statement was simple. Save daughters from dying in childbirth. Mary's name was listed as sole director.
The fund has already started helping 312 women. Mary, because of your can. 312 women. My granddaughter never breathed, but because of this, 312 others will. I don't know what to say. I am just a housekeeper. I am not a director.
She stared at the document, her tears blurring the ink. The can sat open between them, its money still untouched, its promise now 100 times larger than she had ever imagined.
I remember her face. She was so excited to be a mother. She had names already. Grace for a girl, Jacob for a boy.
Mrs. Whitfield reached into her pocket and withdrew the creased photograph of Lucy. She placed it on the can's lid. Mary lifted the photo with trembling hands. The smile she'd missed for 28 years.
She would be 29 today. Her baby would be almost 30. I would have been a grandmother. You are a grandmother. To hundreds of daughters who will live because of you.
The sobs that Mary had silenced for 15 years broke loose. She clutched the photo and wept into Mrs. Whitfield's shoulder.
She would be so proud. I never thought I'd be able to say her name without falling apart.
They sat together as the morning light shifted across the tile. The empty can, the document, the photo, all on the floor, a New Testament.
For the first time, I am not saving for a ghost. I am saving for the living.
After a long while, Mrs. Whitfield rose first and offered her hand. Mary took it, the photo of Lucy still pressed to her heart.
How can I ever thank you for this? By helping those women. By being the grandmother you always were, waiting to be seen.
Mary looked down at the document. Sole director. Her name printed below a daughter's.
Director. I never directed anything but a mop and a dust cloth. I'll do it. I'll be their grandmother, if they'll have me. They've been waiting for you, Mary. The fund already has 312 reasons to celebrate.
She gathered the can and the folder, holding them against her chest. A different kind of burden now. They walked out of the pantry side by side, down the hallway that had held 30 years of silence. In the kitchen, Mrs. Whitfield put the kettle on. For the first time in 31 years, Mary sat across from her as something more than a housekeeper. The following Monday, Mary took the bus to a part of town she'd never visited. The address on the fund document led to a modest brick building.
40 years of cleaning someone else's house. Now I am walking into a place where I am the director. It feels like a dream I haven't earned.
The staff greeted her with a warmth no Whitfield guest had ever offered. They treated her as something precious, a founder. On the wall hung a collage of photographs, mothers and newborns, their eyes full of gratitude. Mary's gaze stopped on one. The handwritten caption read, Keisha, holding baby Lucy. Survived severe preeclampsia, funded by Lucy's memorial.
They named her Lucy. Oh, my baby girl. Your name is alive. Show me everything. Every file. Every case. I want to know who they are.
For the first time in her life, Mary sat at a desk with her name on it. Director. The desk was small, but it was hers.
This is for you, Lucy. Every child that lives will carry your name forward.
Her hands, once cracked from bleach, now leafed through grant applications. The coffee can sat on a shelf behind her. A promise kept. 6 months after the pantry, Mary stood at a podium in a bright community hall. Behind her, a banner read, Lucy's Memorial Fund, 1 year of hope.
I spent 30 years whispering prayers into a Maxwell House can. I never expected anyone to hear them, but one person did. And instead of judgment, she gave me a key not to a pantry, but to a purpose.
She nodded toward Mrs. Whitfield, seated in the front row. The old woman's shoulders shook with silent tears.
Today, dozens of mothers are alive because of a can that held only $6,000. That can taught me. No act of faith is ever wasted. No secret grief is meaningless.
After the applause, a young mother approached the edge of the stage. In her arms, a bundle of white blankets. Mary stepped down and looked at the infant's bright eyes. She didn't need to ask the name.
She's a Lucy. I'd know those eyes anywhere.
Mrs. Whitfield, watching from the side aisle, finally let her tears fall. The Maxwell House can, now in a glass case beside the podium, held nothing and everything at once. 1 year after the gala, a newspaper clipping hung in Mary's office. 312 women have been helped by Lucy's Memorial Fund. Beside it, in a simple frame, Lucy's photograph. Mary still spoke to her every morning.
312 daughters, Lucy. Your name is on every birth certificate now. The granddaughter I imagined never came. But the granddaughters I have are real.
A group photo of mothers and newborns crowded her desk, each face a testament to the can that had started it all.
I still haven't opened your envelope. It's the last piece of the old Mary. Maybe one day I'll read it, when I am ready to let you go.
She placed the envelope back into the can, now empty of money but full of purpose.
30 years of saving, and I finally understand it was never about the money.
Outside her window, the Whitfield Gardens were in bloom. Mary, for the first time in decades, could look at them without seeing a grave. On a soft October morning, Mary walked through the cemetery gates. For the first time in 28 years, she carried no chrysanthemums.
28 years of chrysanthemums, and all they ever did was wither. Today I bring something that won't.
She knelt by Lucy's headstone. The grass was trimmed, the name weathered but clean.
I finally found a granddaughter, Lucy. Not one, many of them, 312. Every one of them carries your name in the fund's records. The little can you used to tease me about that old Maxwell House tin. It changed everything.
From her purse, she withdrew a miniature replica of the coffee can crafted by a grateful mother who had heard the story.
This is for you, so you'll always know that no hope is ever wasted.
She set it beside a smooth stone left by another mourner, a small, permanent testament.
I am not crying for what I lost anymore. I am crying for what you've given back.
The Whitfield kitchen was warm with the smell of bergamot. Mrs. Whitfield poured tea into two mismatched china cups, a habit Mary had started decades ago.
You know, I never expected to find a treasure in my pantry. I was just trying to declutter. I never expected you to give it back 100-fold. And then some. That Ken taught me something, Mary. You can walk past a person for 30 years and never know the cathedral they carry inside them. And I learned that some secrets aren't meant to stay hidden. They're meant to be found by the right person.
They sipped in silence, the way old friends do. The vintage can sat on the table, its red label faded but unmistakable.
I still remember the day I found it. My hands were shaking. I thought I had uncovered a scandal. Instead, you uncovered a shrine. And you didn't tear it down.
Mrs. Whitfield reached across and placed her hand on Mary's. The housekeeper and the matriarch, for the first time, simply two women sharing grief and grace.
You know, I still haven't opened that envelope. Maybe I never will.
Mary dusted the glass display case every morning. The old Maxwell house can sat inside, its label peeling, its purpose reversed.
I used to hide you in the back of a pantry. Now you are the first thing every visitor sees.
A young intern had once asked about the can. Mary had smiled and said,
That can held $6,000 and a letter to a granddaughter who never came. Now it holds nothing. But it reminds us that even small acts of faith can become cathedrals.
She traced her fingers along the glass, as if blessing the tin inside. That can, once filled with $6,000 in grief, now held the dreams of 312 daughters. She turned back to her desk, where Lucy's photograph smiled, unchanged and eternal.
I still miss you, but the missing doesn't break me anymore.
Outside the office, the city hummed. Inside, a woman who had once been invisible was the quiet center of something sacred. Months passed. In hospitals across the state, newborns cried their first breath, each one a ripple from a coffee can. In a thank you card, a young mother wrote, "Because of Lucy's fund, my baby lived." Mary read those words in her office, the can sitting behind her like a silent witness. She walked to the window and looked out at the gardens. The same gardens she had once tended, now a place she could simply enjoy. She lifted her teacup, the familiar warmth seeping into her hands. 30 years of service, 30 years of grief, now distilled into a quiet gratitude. The sun sank lower, casting long golden shadows. Mary smiled, a smile that reached her eyes.
All those years, I thought I was saving for a ghost. I was saving for a future I couldn't imagine.
The coffee can, the envelope, the grief, they had all become a lifeline. And somewhere, in a quiet house in Greenwich, Mrs. Whitfield was brewing tea, knowing she had done exactly right. The granddaughter never came, but the love Mary saved never stopped giving. For 30 years, Mary saved $200 annually for a granddaughter she never met. She hid it in an old Maxwell House can, a secret ritual of impossible hope. She never expected anyone to find it. But one woman, reorganizing a pantry, did, and because that woman chose not to ignore a secret, that grief became a lifeline. 312 daughters. One coffee can, a testament to what we hide and what we find, and to the power of being seen. The envelope addressed to a granddaughter not yet born still sits unopened, but the promise inside it has been fulfilled 1,000 times over. Mary still visits Lucy's grave. Now she brings stories of 312 lives her granddaughter's name helped save, and a coffee can reminds us, no act of hope, no matter how small, is ever wasted. Years later, Mary stood once more in the pantry doorway. She no longer wore the faded gray uniform. Her hand reached to the back shelf. The same empty space, where the can had once hid. She remembered the terror, the loss, the morning she discovered it missing, and the morning Mrs. Whitfield sat on this floor and gave her a key to purpose. She smiled now, the kind of smile that holds all the tears and transforms them. The can was gone, but the promise it carried had rooted in the world. The granddaughter she had saved for never arrived. But the love she saved, it never stopped giving. She turned and closed the pantry door. The soft click muffled by the thick oak. The room was empty once more, save for the dust and the memory of a miracle. Fade to black. Only the sound of a coffee can lid sealing shut.